Now we got to talk about me. I don't mean specifically. We're talking about something I live with. I'm a type 2 diabetic, if anyone didn't already know. So, health tracking and whatnot, very important for me. I've been waiting for the day that some of these smart wearables would actually measure blood glucose levels in a way that might be different and I guess more accessible than like a Dexcom G7.
I am too.
Because you literally had a situation.
Oh my God. I went to the launch event of Stelo, which is their consumer grade product.
Yeah.
And so here I am unboxing it and just getting ready. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great because if it provides all these metrics, I don't necessarily need to use it. I'm not a diabetic, but then for marathon training, it gives you so much insight. So I'm like unboxing it and then I notice the big needle and I'm like, no, that is not happening. But Josh, how long have you been a diabetic?
I was diagnosed about 10, maybe 12 years ago. And I remember the story of actually getting diagnosed. It was actually because when I was editing a video for Android Authority, I actually felt some strain behind my eyes, or just like
Really?
in my eyes, maybe right behind it. That was kind of where I felt it. I told my mom, who has been a type 2 diabetic since having me, that should have been a sign. But she knew exactly like what kind of sign that could be. Sent me straight to an ophthalmologist to check my eyes to make sure that if I did have diabetes, it wasn't damaging my eyes. They said it was fine, but you should go get a blood test done. That blood test told me everything I needed to know. I
Wow, dude.
was I was very far from the range I was supposed to be in.
Wow, dude. And so you've been dealing with those needles since.
Well, with the Dexcom, for the record, they don't actually hurt. Let me just put that out
Okay, okay.
there. But I have been using them for a little while. But aside from that, we had other methodologies that people use, like finger pricking.
Yes.
That one actually does sting a little bit. So
Yes.
I totally get where you're coming from there.
So, you're probably not going to be as satisfied with the answer because there's only so much that
Oh, sure.
I can reveal at this point. And, to be honest, we're probably talking about, 5 years in the horizon. But we have taken very concrete steps to evolve a technology that we know works. And we're trying to miniaturize this technology that is based on spectroscopy. Okay? That's probably what I can say. So the technology works. How we miniaturize it, I think, is what everyone's working on right now. So we're pretty excited at the stage right now. We're doing some design work and so forth. And so we think this is going to be a game changer, as I said, because I think not only will we be able to show real time what's happening to your glucose, but in the context of other data we're measuring and then begin to show the relationship and using AI to then coach you without you having to figure out that, oh, this plus this is this. Like how many people are going to really realistically do that?
Yeah.
Right.
I think we need to simplify this, take all the various datas and then try to make meaningful integrated insights so that we don't say, oh, for sleep do this to optimize and then for exercise do this. Something like that's not how life works. Like you're a whole being, and so we need to figure out an insight that brings it all together. And I think CGM, obviously, diabetes and managing that and keeping glucose under control, obviously, is something that is going to revolutionize health. We're also working on, trying to do continuous blood pressure, and so that between those two things, I think life is going to look very different.
No, I even think, even as a non-diabetic still, I'm excited to have a tool that, even if it's far from perfect when compared to the needle version, I want, if it could help me prevent
Right.
falling into habits that would lead to diabetes, I'm all for it.
Right.
Like for me, you and I had this conversation back in Barcelona when we met. And for me, it was a smartwatch that got me to lower my alcoholic intake the moment I realized how much it disrupted my sleep.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was disrupting my sleep so much until I noticed
Some
the
people
pattern.
think it actually helps you sleep,
No,
right?
it's the contrary. It is the
different.
contrary. But the problem is, I wish that smartwatch in particular would have been smarter about giving me tips as to what to do. And I know that for companies it's complicated because obviously you can't give me something, and I know companies worry about lawsuits, but it's crazy how much a watch taught me. like for me, if I could have tools for prevention of diabetes alone, that would be fantastic. And it's crazy how much those metrics are also good to improve physical performance for
Exactly.
working out.
So stand by. We're working on next generation of AI insights that begins to do that. And so as not only the sensors evolve, our AI capabilities are evolving very quickly. And so I think to your point, I think we want to move away from, hey, here's the glucose data to
Exactly.
here's the insight, here's the actions you should take
Right.
for you and know in your context of the moments that you need help and nudge you, right?
Right, and we're all in different stages. Like I'm training for half marathons or marathons, not throughout the year.
Right.
It happens at specific
Yep.
portions. I'm not going to train in the summer. I'm just not going to. But like I would like to be able to tell Samsung Health, for example, I'm currently training for something.
Yep.
And for everything to tailor itself to
For
take
that
me
goal.
for that goal.
Yep.
But then if I'm not training for something, it's like, you know what, let's
Exactly.
lay low. And so give me insights based
Exactly.
on sustaining
Have you been
that.
looking at our roadmap? Because that's exactly where we're going. We're doing a goal-based driven, program-specific, tailored for you. That's where we're headed.
So when you and I met back in Barcelona, a lot of the conversation was about energy score.
Yep.
It didn't exist at the time. It was still a project that was coming up. And it was probably one of my biggest complaints, not just of Samsung, it was of all other companies that were just not competing in giving us that extra insight into not necessarily how you should feel, but how everything that you do contributes to that particular score. And, you know, in addition to that, you also gave us the Galaxy Ring, which, by the way, one of the major reasons why I use it is because it's really not uncomfortable compared to everything else. It just becomes effortless. And now I totally understand your point at the time, but in retrospect now, after using it, where it's like, it's so light, you forget that you're wearing it. And then I can have all this information without having to put up with a watch. After all this time, what have you learned from the usage of the Galaxy Ring and consumer behavior?
A lot. And we continue to learn. I think that's probably the most important point. You made a couple points that I think it's worth doubling down on. One is the question of why aren't people, like if there's so much value, why aren't more people tracking using wearables? And the truth is, yes, there's value that we have to create and more we can do. But part of it is just simplicity and style. And people just want to wear something that's cool. And it happens to measure some amazing things. If we say it's a medical thing that looks ugly and you have to wear it and it's bulky, like, right? So part of this is about meeting people's needs and to forget that it's there, right? So I think that's an important point. The other thing we learned is that we can get very precise in our numbers, in our devices to be accurate. But the other thing that we were not that good at as we went through the energy score was that behavioral change and knowing how to meet people where they are and then nudging them is an art. We have learned that and we're evolving that portion. So we're using large language models to really set the right tone for the right person, to do it in a way at the right window. Because the problem with behavior change, which is ultimately what we're trying, like we all know I should sleep well, eat well, don't drink, don't smoke. Like we know intellectually, but given what life does to us, sometimes we kind of fall back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All
And
the
then we
time.
need to
Yeah,
pick
yeah, all the
back up. I
time.
mean, this is just who we are. And so it's about, can the devices know that context and know when to give you a little slack, know when to push you, know when the goals are, right? So it's really learning the art of context and the person. The hyper-personalization that is now beginning to happen because of AI and big data is now allowing us to take the 4 V's, the volume of data, the variety of data, the velocity of data, veracity of data, and then bringing value. And so to me, the technology now is here to take all of that and then do a gentle nudge, because you need a softer side. You say, go do this today. You're competing, right? So everyone's different in how we respond. And it's like parenting, like know your kids. And for each child, you do little different things because you know their behavior is different and they respond different.
But this is so interesting because the problem I feel is that everything is packaged the same way in smartphones through notifications. And because it's very hard to control all the notifications we get, it becomes just another annoyance. And so, yes, I like the idea of the nudge. I'm curious as to how you're going to approach these kinds of notifications differently. Like, it's crazy. You launch an application on any Android phone and you just start getting like nudges and tips, and it becomes annoying. I'm like, I just want to use
Absolutely.
it.
Yep.
In the end, I would say if the journey is for you to create an AI agent that intends to truly assist me and not have me worry about what tool I'm using, that would be the frontier where it's borderline only. The only thing it's missing is for it to serve me coffee. And that's exactly where I want it to go.
So I think that's the art that we are figuring out, and everyone is trying to figure out. There are multiple ways that can be done through prioritization of different nudges that need to be contextualized in the moment of the person when they're ready or not. So energy score, we do it in the context in the morning because you wake up and you want to get ready, and so it just bang, it helps you kind of plan, right? At night, you need something a little different, right? You need to kind of reflect and see what happened and give you options to have good sleep habits as you prepare to sleep. And then in the middle is where stuff happens. And so it's contextual. So when you finish your exercise, it says, great job. Here's your thing. You can compare it to last week. You're achieving, like, I think it has to be contextualized, and we're finding those windows. And I think that's what's important is, can we find those windows when it is appropriate for us to send a nudge out instead of just randomly sending you a nudge, and now we're competing with just noise, or it becomes noise. And so we don't have the answer yet, but we're figuring out.
But the seed is there.
The seed is there.
And it could be a nudge, not necessarily towards this is what you can do with the data, but could it also be a nudge to actually put in the data? Because there's so much
Absolutely.
now.
So we talked about in the evening, it says, how's your mood today? How was your day? And have a conversation. And we have technologies that can actually detect your mood in pretty significant way. And there are also technologies now that detect depression based on voice and others. So you're absolutely right. So part of this is about a assistant. Like, think of a coach that's just there, that just talks to you. And through this conversation, whether it's chatbot, whether it's voice, multimodal, we start collecting data when necessary, nudging you when you're necessary, or just listening and passively collecting data. I think it's all of them.